My name is Linda, and I am 54 years old now, but this story happened when I was 32. It was a Tuesday morning in September, just like any other morning. I was driving my 6-year-old daughter Emma to school. My 3-month-old baby Jack was at home with our sitter. Everything seemed normal. Then Emma screamed from the back seat. "Mom, we must go back now." I asked why. She begged, "Just hurry, please." I turned the car around, my heart pounding. When I opened the front door, my entire world collapsed. Before I share what happened behind that door, I would love to know where you are watching this from. Please hit the like button and subscribe because this channel shares real stories from real people. And believe me, you need to stay until the end to understand what my 6-year-old daughter knew that I did not. I was 32 years old living in Seattle, Washington with my family. Our neighborhood was the kind you see in magazines. 2-story houses painted in soft pastels lined the streets. Maple trees with red leaves created a canopy over the sidewalks. Everything about our life felt peaceful and safe. My husband Thomas was 34, a construction engineer at one of the biggest firms in the city. He was good at his job, but it meant traveling 2 or 3 days every week to different project sites across the state. When he was home, though, he was fully present. We had built something beautiful together. Our daughter Emma had just turned 6 that summer. She was in 1st grade at the public school 3 blocks from our house. Emma had long brown hair that I braided every morning and blue eyes just like her father. But her personality was all her own. She was sensitive, perceptive in ways that surprised me. She noticed things other kids her age would miss. She loved to draw and read, and she was especially close to me. Then there was Jack. Our baby boy, born in June, was 3 months old when this story takes place. He had soft blonde hair, the same blue eyes as his sister, and the sweetest smile. He was a healthy baby, easy in so many ways. He slept well, ate well, and rarely fussed. I felt lucky to have such a content infant. I worked as a graphic designer freelancing from home. The income was steady enough to help support our family, and it gave me flexibility to be with my children. We were not rich, but we were comfortable. We had a nice home, healthy kids, and a marriage that worked. Life felt complete. Looking back now, I realize how naive I was to think nothing could shatter that peace. After Jack was born, everything became harder. Do not get me wrong, I loved being a mother of 2, but the reality of caring for a newborn while raising a 6-year-old and trying to work was crushing. I was up 3 or 4 times every night feeding Jack. During the day, I had to get Emma ready for school, pack her lunch, drive her there, then come home and try to squeeze in work while Jack napped. The naps never lasted long enough. My weight dropped. Dark circles appeared under my eyes that no amount of concealer could hide. My skin looked pale and tired. Thomas was away so often for work that I was essentially doing it all alone. My mother lived in California too far to help regularly. I had no family nearby. One evening, Thomas came home from a 3-day trip and found me crying in the kitchen. Jack was screaming in his bassinet. Emma needed help with homework. Dinner was not made. I had not showered in 2 days. Thomas held me and said we needed to find help. "I need you healthy, Linda. The kids need you healthy." I resisted at first. The thought of leaving my children with a stranger terrified me. What if something happened? What if they were not kind? What if they hurt my babies? But Thomas was right. I could not keep going like this. Something had to change. We decided to hire someone to help a few hours each day. The sitter would watch Jack while I took Emma to school and got some work done. Just enough help to take the pressure off. I told myself it would be okay. Plenty of families hired sitters. This was normal. I spent hours researching agencies. I read every review on Yelp, compared prices, and checked what kind of background checks they performed. I made a list of requirements that was probably too long. The person had to have experience with infants. They needed CPR certification. They had to have clean references. I was not going to compromise on my children's safety. The agency I chose had excellent ratings and had been in business for 15 years. They promised thorough background checks and only hired the most qualified candidates. I felt better knowing professionals were screening these people. Over 2 weeks, I interviewed 4 different candidates. The first was a young woman, maybe 20 years old. She seemed sweet but had only worked with older children. I needed someone with infant experience. The second woman had plenty of experience but showed up 15 minutes late to the interview without calling. If she could not be on time for an interview, how could I trust her with my son? The third candidate was wonderful. She had years of experience and excellent references, but she quoted a price that was nearly double what we could afford. I felt defeated. Maybe this was not going to work. Maybe I would just have to keep struggling on my own. Then the agency called with one more option. Her name was Sharon. She was 58 years old and had recently retired from working as a pediatric nurse. She was looking to do part-time childcare because she missed working with children and wanted to supplement her retirement income. On paper, she was perfect. Sharon's background check came back spotless. No criminal record, no history of any kind of trouble. She had references from 4 families she had worked with previously. I called each one. Every single family raved about her. She is so dependable, one mother told me. She treated our kids like her own grandchildren. Another said, "We were heartbroken when Sharon moved and could not work for us anymore." You are lucky to have her. Sharon had a degree in early childhood education in addition to her nursing background. She had spent 15 years in pediatric nursing at Seattle Children's Hospital before retiring. This was more than I could have hoped for. Sharon came to our house on a Saturday afternoon for the interview. When she walked through the door, I felt an immediate sense of calm. She had short, neatly cut gray hair and wore a beige cardigan over khaki pants. Her face was kind, her smile gentle. There was something grandmother-like about her that put me at ease. We sat in the living room and talked for over an hour. Sharon answered every question I asked with patience and detail. She told me about her years as a pediatric nurse, about raising her own 3 children who were now grown with families of their own. She talked about watching her grandchildren and how much joy it brought her. Now that her grandkids were older and in school full-time, she missed having little ones around. When Jack started fussing in his bassinet, Sharon asked if she could hold him. I nodded and watched carefully as she picked him up. Her movements were practiced and gentle. She checked his diaper without me asking, noticed he needed changing, and asked where I kept the supplies. Within minutes, Jack was clean content and falling asleep in her arms. She had not even needed my instructions. Emma had been hiding in her room during the interview, shy around strangers. Sharon did not push. She simply smiled when Emma peeked around the corner and said softly, "Hi there. I heard you like to draw." "I love art too." Emma did not respond at first, but Sharon kept talking in that calm voice, asking what Emma liked to draw, what her favorite colors were. By the end of the visit, Emma was showing Sharon her drawings. When Sharon left, Thomas and I looked at each other. "She is perfect," he said. I agreed. Everything about Sharon seemed right. Her experience, her references, her gentle manner with the kids. I called the agency that evening and said we wanted to hire her. Sharon would start Monday morning at 7:30. Sharon's first week went exactly as I had hoped. She arrived every morning at 7:30 on the dot, never a minute late. I had written out detailed instructions for Jack's care. When he ate, how much formula to give him, his nap schedule, when to change him. Sharon read through everything carefully, asked clarifying questions, and took notes. That first Monday, I was anxious leaving Jack with her. I took Emma to school, but I could barely concentrate on the drive. I called home twice before 10 in the morning. Both times, Sharon answered cheerfully and assured me Jack was sleeping peacefully. When I got home around noon, the house was tidy. Jack had been fed and changed. He was clean and content. Sharon had even washed his bottles and put them in the sterilizer. On Tuesday, I felt a little more relaxed. Sharon arrived on time again, greeted me with a warm smile, and took over Jack's care seamlessly. She asked if I wanted her to make lunch, and when I said she did not have to, she insisted. "It is no trouble at all," she said. By Wednesday, I was barely worried at all. I was able to focus on my work finish projects that had been piling up. The house was always clean when I returned. Sharon folded laundry without being asked. She organized Jack's toys. She washed bottles and prepared formula for the next feeding. Everything was perfect. Jack was thriving under her care. He was always clean when I got home, always well fed, always happy. By Friday, I felt like a weight had been lifted. I had caught up on sleep. My skin looked better. I felt like myself again. Thomas came home that weekend and immediately noticed the difference. "You look amazing," he said. "Sharon is working out." I nodded. "She is incredible. I do not know what I would do without her. I felt so fortunate. After all the stress of interviewing, after all my fears about hiring someone, I had found the perfect person to help our family." The second week continued smoothly. Sharon never missed a day. She was always punctual, always prepared. Jack continued to do well. His feeding schedule was consistent. He was gaining weight appropriately. The pediatrician had no concerns at his checkup. "Sharon is taking good care of him," I told the doctor proudly. Sharon even went above and beyond what I had asked. She noticed we were running low on diapers and made a note to remind me. She organized Jack's dresser so his clothes were easier to find. She did dishes that were not even related to Jack's care just to be helpful. When I thanked her, she waved it off. "I like to be useful," she said. "It makes me happy." Emma seemed to be adjusting too. She was no longer hiding from Sharon. They talked in the mornings while I got ready. Sharon asked Emma about school, about her drawings, about her friends. Emma responded, though she was never as animated with Sharon as she was with me or Thomas. But that was normal. Emma was always cautious with new people. I started recommending Sharon to other mothers in the neighborhood. When someone mentioned needing childcare, I gave them Sharon's information and told them how lucky we were to have found her. I felt like I was helping other families the way Sharon had helped ours. By the end of the second week, I had fully relaxed. I trusted Sharon completely. I stopped checking in constantly. I stopped rushing home early. I gave myself permission to go to the grocery store after dropping Emma at school to run errands to have coffee with a friend. Sharon had proven herself reliable. There was no reason to worry. That trust was about to become the biggest mistake of my life. The third week started like the others. Monday morning, Sharon arrived at 7:30. Emma ate her breakfast while I got Jack ready. Everything seemed normal. But when I was putting Emma's shoes on, I noticed my daughter was quieter than usual. "Sweetie, are you feeling okay?" I asked. Emma nodded but did not meet my eyes. She was eating her cereal slowly, taking tiny bites, staring at her bowl. "We are going to be late if you do not hurry up," I said gently. Emma ate a little faster but still said nothing. On the drive to school, she stared out the window instead of chattering like she normally did. Emma loved to tell me about what she was going to do that day, what centers she wanted to visit, what she hoped to have for snack time. But today, silence. "Is everything okay at school?" I asked. "Are the other kids being nice to you?" Emma nodded. "Yes, Mom." "Are you sure you seem quiet?" "I am just tired," Emma said. I accepted that answer. Kids got tired sometimes. Maybe she had not slept well. I made a mental note to put her to bed earlier that night. When we got to school, Emma did not jump out of the car like usual. She unbuckled her seatbelt slowly, grabbed her backpack, and looked back at me with an expression I could not quite read. It was almost like she wanted to tell me something but could not find the words. "Have a good day, sweetheart. I love you." "Love you too, Mom," Emma said quietly, and then she was gone. I drove home thinking about Emma's mood. Maybe she was coming down with something. I would watch her closely tonight. When I got home, Sharon was in the living room with Jack. He had just finished eating and was drowsy. Everything appeared fine. That afternoon, when I picked Emma up from school, her teacher stopped me. Mrs. Parker wanted to have a quick chat. "Is Emma feeling all right?" the teacher asked. She was very quiet today. She did not participate in circle time, and she did not play with her friends at recess. My heart sank a little. I noticed she was quiet this morning, too. I think she might be getting sick. "Keep an eye on her," Mrs. Parker said kindly. "Let me know if there is anything I can do." I took Emma home feeling more concerned. I asked if her tummy hurt. She said it did a little, but then she said it felt better. I made her favorite dinner, macaroni and cheese, hoping it would cheer her up. She picked at it. That evening, I gave Emma a bath and put her to bed early. I read her 2 extra stories, trying to coax a smile. She listened but seemed distant. When I kissed her good night, she held on to me longer than usual. "Mom, can you stay home tomorrow?" "I cannot, baby. I have work to do, but Sharon will take good care of Jack, and you will be at school having fun." Emma did not respond. She just turned over and closed her eyes. Tuesday was worse. Emma cried when I tried to wake her up for school. She said she did not want to go. I thought she really must be sick, so I checked her temperature. Normal. I looked for signs of a cold or flu. Nothing. "What is wrong, Em?" I asked. "I just do not want to go to school. Did something happen? Did someone hurt your feelings?" "No." "Then what is it?" Emma started crying harder. "I do not know. I just want you to stay home." I held her confused and worried. This was not like Emma. She loved school. She had never acted like this before. After 15 minutes of tears, I finally got her dressed and into the car. She cried the whole way to school. When we arrived, she did not want to get out. I had to walk her to her classroom and explain to Mrs. Parker that Emma was having a difficult morning. "I will keep an eye on her," Mrs. Parker said. I drove home feeling terrible. What was going on with my daughter? Was she sick? Was something happening at school she was not telling me about? I called Thomas during his lunch break and told him about Emma's behavior. "It is probably just a phase," he said. "You know how kids are. Maybe she is feeling jealous about Jack and acting out for attention." That made sense. Emma had been the only child for 6 years. Now she had to share me with a baby. Maybe this was her way of expressing those feelings. I decided to spend extra quality time with her that evening. But when I picked Emma up that afternoon, Mrs. Parker pulled me aside again. Emma sat at her desk all day and barely spoke. When I asked her questions, she would answer, but only with 1 or 2 words. This is very unlike her. I know I said my worry deepening. I will talk to her tonight. At home, I sat Emma down and tried to have a heart-to-heart. I asked if she felt sad about Jack. I asked if she wished things were like they used to be when it was just the three of us. Emma listened but would not open up. She just kept saying she was fine, but her eyes told a different story. That night around 2 a.m, I heard crying. I ran to Emma's room and found her sitting up in bed, tears streaming down her face. She was saying something over and over. "Baby Jack! Baby Jack!" I turned on the light and rushed to her. "Emma, what is wrong? Did you have a bad dream?" Emma was shaking. Jack was crying. "Mom." He was crying so much and nobody came. It was just a dream, sweetheart. Jack is fine. Come on, let me show you. I took Emma's hand and led her to Jack's room. I opened the door quietly. Jack was fast asleep in his crib, peaceful and safe. "See, he is okay." Emma stared at her brother for a long moment. Then she whispered, "This time." "What do you mean this time?" Nothing, Emma said, but she would not stop staring at Jack. I brought Emma back to her room and stayed with her until she fell asleep. My mind was racing. What was causing these nightmares? Was Emma more affected by having a baby brother than I realized? The next morning, I called our pediatrician and made an appointment to have Emma evaluated. Maybe she needed to talk to a child psychologist. Wednesday morning, Sharon arrived as usual. When Emma saw her, something changed in my daughter's face. It was subtle, but I caught it. A flash of something. Fear. Discomfort. I could not tell. Emma immediately moved behind me, peeking out at Sharon from behind my legs. "Good morning, Emma," Sharon said with her usual gentle smile. "Did you sleep well?" Emma did not answer. She just pressed closer to me. "Emma, that is rude. Say good morning to Sharon." "Good morning." Emma mumbled, eyes on the floor. Sharon did not seem bothered. She just smiled and said, "That is okay. Some mornings are harder than others." When it was time to leave for school, Emma grabbed my hand and would not let go. "Mom, please, can Sharon not stay here today?" I was taken aback. "What? Why would you say that? I just do not like her anymore." "Emma," I said, shocked, "that is not a nice thing to say. Sharon is very kind to us. She takes good care of Jack." Emma's face crumpled, but she did not say anything else. She just looked defeated. On the drive to school, I tried again. "Emma, you have to tell me why you do not like Sharon. Did she do something to upset you?" "She is different when you are not here," Emma said quietly. "Different how?" "Just different." "That does not tell me anything, honey. Can you explain?" Emma shook her head. "You would not believe me anyway." "I would believe you. I promise. Just tell me what you mean." But Emma refused to say more. She stared out the window, tears rolling down her cheeks, and I felt helpless. I did not know what was wrong. I did not know how to fix it. That afternoon, I decided to come home early without telling Sharon. I wanted to see what Emma meant by Sharon being different. Maybe I could observe something that would explain Emma's sudden change in behavior. I dropped Emma at school and drove back home, arriving around 11 instead of my usual one. I opened the front door as quietly as I could and stepped inside. I heard Sharon's voice coming from the living room. She was singing softly a lullaby. I walked toward the sound and found her sitting in the rocking chair holding Jack. He was asleep in her arms, peaceful and content. The house was clean. Everything looked normal. Sharon looked up when she saw me, surprise crossing her face. "Oh, you are home early." "Yes, I finished my work sooner than expected." I lied. "How is Jack?" "He is perfect. Just fed him about an hour ago. He should sleep for another hour or two. I looked around the room. Nothing seemed out of place. No signs of anything wrong. I felt foolish. Emma was probably just going through a difficult phase and I was overreacting. "Is everything all right, Linda?" Sharon asked, tilting her head slightly. "Yes, of course. I just wanted to see my baby." "I understand. You can come home any time." "I have nothing to hide," Sharon said with a warm smile. But something about the way she said it made me uncomfortable. It felt almost defensive, like she was trying too hard to reassure me. Or maybe I was just being paranoid. I shook off the feeling and thanked her. That evening, I told Thomas about coming home early. I explained what Emma had said and how I found everything perfectly normal. "See," Thomas said, "Sharon is doing a great job. Emma is probably just jealous and trying to get attention by making you worry about the sitter. Kids do that." I wanted to believe him. I wanted to think this was just a phase Emma would grow out of, but a small voice in the back of my mind kept whispering that something was not right. The weekend arrived and Sharon had her days off. The change in Emma was immediate and dramatic. She was her old self again. She laughed, played, ran around the backyard. She helped me bake cookies. She colored pictures for Jack and taped them to his nursery wall. It was like the sad, withdrawn Emma from the week had never existed. On Saturday, we all went to the park. Emma played on the swings, went down the slide a dozen times, and chased pigeons with pure joy on her face. Thomas and I watched her relieved. "See." "She is fine," Thomas said. "It was just a rough week." But Sunday evening, as we were getting ready for bed, Emma's mood darkened again. "Will Sharon come back tomorrow?" she asked, her voice small. "Yes, honey." "Why?" "Can you stay home tomorrow instead?" "I have to work, sweetie. But Sharon will take good care of Jack." Emma did not respond. She just climbed into bed and turned away from me. I kissed her head, but she did not say goodnight. Later, as I was about to turn off her light, Emma spoke. "Mom." "Yes, baby. I do not want tomorrow to come." "Why not?" "Just because." "You can tell me." "What is wrong?" Emma was quiet for a long moment. Then she whispered, "Nothing. I am just tired." But her eyes said something entirely different. They said she was scared. Monday morning, September 23rd. I will never forget that date. It is burned into my memory like a scar that will never fade. The morning started cold for Seattle with a light fog settling over the neighborhood. I woke at 6:15 like always. Jack had woken me twice during the night to feed, so I was tired, but no more than usual. I went to his room and found him awake, making soft cooing sounds. I changed him and brought him to the living room to nurse. At 6:30, Jack finished eating. He was content, eyes drooping with sleep. I burped him, rocked him for a few minutes, and then laid him in his crib. He fell asleep immediately. I covered him with his thin blanket, turned on the baby monitor, and quietly closed his door. At 7, I went to wake Emma. Usually she was already stirring, but this morning she was curled in a tight ball under her covers. "Emma, time to get up, sweetie." She did not move. I sat on her bed and rubbed her back. "Come on, honey. You have school." Emma finally rolled over and opened her eyes. They were filled with dread. "I do not want to go. I know you have been having a tough time lately, but you cannot stay home. There is nothing wrong with you. You have to go to school." Emma sat up slowly like her body weighed 1,000 pounds. She let me dress her without protest, but she moved like she was in slow motion. Every action took twice as long as it should. "Emma, please hurry. We cannot be late." She pulled on her shoes at a snail's pace. She picked up her backpack and set it down again. She looked around her room like she was trying to memorize it. The whole time she said nothing. Sharon arrived at exactly 7:30. She knocked twice and I opened the door. She was wearing a navy blue sweater and carrying her usual bag. "Good morning, Linda." "Good morning, Emma." I returned the greeting. Emma did not. Sharon Jack ate at 6:30. He should be fine until around 9 or so. He is sleeping now. Got it. Do not worry about a thing. Have a good day. I grabbed Emma's hand and led her to the car. She climbed into her booster seat in the back without speaking. I buckled her in, got in the driver's seat, and started the engine. The clock on the dashboard read 7:40. The drive to Emma's school normally took about 10 minutes. Her school was on Maple Street, about 2 miles from our house. The route took us down our residential street past the Safeway grocery store, through 2 traffic lights and onto the school's block. I turned on the radio to the local news station. The reporter was talking about traffic on I-5. Emma sat in the back looking out the window. I glanced at her in the rearview mirror. Her little face looked so sad. "Are you okay back there?" No response. "Emma." Still nothing. We drove in silence. The fog was starting to lift as the sun rose higher. I stopped at the red light near Safeway, waited for it to turn green, continued forward. We were about 5 minutes into the drive, roughly 2 miles from home, when everything changed. It happened so suddenly that I jumped. Emma screamed. Not a startled yelp, but a full terrified scream that came from deep in her chest. "Mom, stop." I swerved slightly, my hands gripping the wheel. "What? What happened? We have to go back. We have to go back right now. Why did you forget something? No. We just need to go back. Please, Mom?" Emma started crying. Huge, gasping sobs. Her voice was panicked in a way I had never heard before. "Emma, calm down. Tell me what is wrong." "I cannot explain. Just please turn around. Baby, Jack needs us. Jack is fine. Sharon is with him." "No," Emma screamed. "She is not. She never is. Please, Mom, we have to go now." Her voice was so frantic, so desperate that my heart started pounding. Emma was unbuckling her seatbelt, reaching for the door handle. "Emma, stop. You will hurt yourself. Then turn around." She was sobbing now, her words barely intelligible. "Please, something bad is happening to Jack." I looked at my daughter in the rearview mirror. Her face was red and soaked with tears. Her chest was heaving. This was not a tantrum. This was not acting out for attention. Emma truly believed her brother was in danger. In that split second, I made a choice. I chose to trust my child. Okay, baby. We are going home." I checked the road signaled and made a U-turn in the middle of the street. My hands were shaking. My mind was racing. Was Jack really in danger, or was Emma having some kind of emotional breakdown? I did not know, but I could not ignore the terror in my daughter's voice. I pressed down on the gas pedal, driving faster than I normally would. Emma was still crying in the back seat, her small voice repeating over and over, "Hurry, Mom. Please hurry. It is going to be okay, Em. We are almost there." But even as I said it, my stomach twisted with fear. Something was wrong. I could feel it now. That mother's instinct people talk about was screaming at me. Something was very wrong. I tried calling home using the Bluetooth in my car. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. No answer. My breath caught in my throat. "Sharon is probably busy with Jack. I said out loud, trying to reassure both Emma and myself. But Emma shook her head violently. She will not answer, Mom. She never does when you call. What do you mean she never does? Emma did not answer. She just kept crying. I called again. Still no answer. My heart was racing now, slamming against my ribs. Why was Sharon not picking up? If she was feeding Jack or changing him, she would hear the phone. Our landline was loud, unless she was not in the house, unless she was not there at all. No, that could not be right. Sharon would never leave Jack alone. She was a professional. She was a nurse. She would never do that. But then why was Emma so scared? The drive back felt like it took hours, though it was only 9 minutes. 9 minutes that stretched into eternity. 9 minutes during which every terrible possibility ran through my mind. Jack choking, Jack falling, Jack crying and no one coming, Jack alone. I turned onto our street and saw our house at the end of the block. Sharon's car was still parked on the street where she always left it. That was a good sign. She was still here. Everything was fine. But then why did I feel like I was driving toward a nightmare? I pulled into the driveway and stopped the car. I did not bother pulling all the way in or turning off the engine properly. I threw the car into park, jumped out, and ran to the front door. Emma was right behind me, her footsteps pounding on the driveway. My hands fumbled with my keys. I dropped them once, picked them up, finally got the key in the lock and turned it. The door swung open. The house was silent. Too silent. No sound of Sharon humming or moving around. No sound of Jack cooing or fussing. Just silence. "Sharon," I called out. My voice echoed through the empty house. "Sharon, Jack." No response. I ran through the living room. Sharon was not there. The TV was off. Her bag was on the couch. Into the kitchen. No Sharon. Back through the hallway. No Sharon. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might explode. Emma was right behind me, gripping the back of my shirt. I could hear her crying softly. I ran up the stairs, taking them 2 at a time. Down the hallway toward Jack's room. Please let him be okay. Please let him be okay. Please let him be okay. I reached his door, put my hand on the knob, took a breath, and opened it. The scene before me made time stop. Jack was in his crib, but he was not sleeping peacefully like I had left him. He was crying, but it was not the strong, healthy cry of a baby who wanted attention. It was a weak, hoarse sound, a sound that told me he had been crying for a long time, so long that his voice was almost gone. His face was bright red, flushed with heat. His little body was drenched in sweat. The room felt like an oven. I looked at the space heater in the corner. It was turned on to the highest setting, blasting hot air into the small room. The temperature must have been 90 degrees or more. I ran to the crib and picked Jack up. His body was burning hot against mine. His onesie was soaked through with sweat. His diaper sagged heavy and full. It had not been changed since I left him over an hour ago. The smell of urine was overwhelming. Oh my God. Oh my God, baby. Jack barely responded when I picked him up. His eyes were half closed. His lips were dry and cracked. His fontanelle, the soft spot on his head, looked slightly sunken. All signs of severe dehydration. Jack's tiny body trembled in my arms. I held him close, tears streaming down my face. What happened? Who did this? The bottle I had prepared that morning was on the dresser across the room, far from the crib, out of reach. Jack could not have accessed it even if he could move. He had been left alone, hot, hungry, and scared. Emma appeared in the doorway, her face pale. I told you, Mom. I told you. I know, baby. I know. You were right. I am so sorry I did not listen sooner. With Jack in one arm, I grabbed Emma's hand and ran downstairs. I needed to get Jack water immediately. In the kitchen, I held him while I filled his bottle with formula. My hands were shaking so badly I spilled some on the counter. I put the bottle to Jack's lips. At first, he did not respond, too weak to even suck. Come on, baby. Please. Drink for Mommy. Finally, his lips moved. He took a small sip, then another. Then he started drinking eagerly, desperately, like he had been dying of thirst, which he probably had been. While Jack drank, I looked around frantically for Sharon. Where was she? How could she leave a baby like this? Sharon, I screamed. Where are you? I carried Jack through the house again, Emma following close behind. I checked every room. Sharon was not there. I ran to the front window and looked out. Sharon's car was gone. It had been there when I arrived. I was certain of it. Except now that I thought about it, had I actually seen it? Or had I just assumed I ran back to the kitchen? That is when I saw it. A small yellow sticky note on the kitchen counter. I grabbed it. The note was in Sharon's handwriting. Had to leave early today. Family emergency. Jack should be fine until you get back. I stared at the note, my vision blurring with rage and tears. Family emergency. She left a 3-month-old baby alone because of a family emergency. No call. No text. Just a note. I looked at the clock on the microwave. 8:15. If Sharon had left right after I drove away at 7:40, that meant Jack had been alone for 35 minutes. 35 minutes of crying until his voice gave out. 35 minutes in a dangerously hot room. 35 minutes of complete abandonment. Or had she left even earlier? Had she left the moment I drove away? Had she never intended to stay at all? My hands were shaking. Jack was still drinking from his bottle, his eyes closing as the formula soothed him. But he was not okay. He was severely dehydrated. His body temperature was way too high. He needed medical attention. I pulled out my phone and dialed 911. A woman's voice answered. 911. What is your emergency? My voice cracked. My 3-month-old baby has been left alone and is severely dehydrated. I need help. What is your address? I gave her our address. She asked me questions. How long had Jack been alone? What were his symptoms? Was he breathing normally? I answered as best as I could while trying to keep Jack drinking. An ambulance is on the way. Keep your baby hydrated. Can you take his temperature? I do not have time. Please, just send someone now. They are coming. Stay on the line with me. I also need to call my husband. That is fine. Call him and then call me back if anything changes. I hung up and immediately called Thomas. He answered on the second ring, his voice professional. This is Thomas. Thomas. I could barely get the words out. Something terrible happened. You need to come home right now. What, Linda? What is wrong? Sharon left Jack alone. He has been crying for over half an hour. He is dehydrated. We are going to the hospital. There was silence on the other end. Then, what she left him? Thomas. She just left. I am calling an ambulance. I am leaving right now. I will meet you at the hospital. Which one? Valley Medical. I am coming. Is Jack okay? I do not know. I do not know. I hung up and held Jack closer. Emma stood next to me, her small hand on my arm. Is Jack going to be okay, Mom? I do not know, baby. I do not know. The ambulance arrived 10 minutes later, though it felt like hours. 2 paramedics, a man and a woman, came through the door with their equipment. I explained what had happened as quickly as I could. They checked Jack's vital signs, his temperature, his hydration level. "He is definitely dehydrated," the female paramedic said. "We need to get him to the ER. Is he going to be okay?" "He should be, but we need to move now." They prepared Jack for transport, wrapping him in a thin blanket. I grabbed my purse, took Emma's hand, and followed them to the ambulance. Emma climbed in with me. She had not let go of my hand since we got home. In the ambulance, I watched the paramedics work on Jack. They were calm and professional, but I could see the concern in their eyes. This was serious. My baby was seriously hurt. Emma sat pressed against my side, crying quietly. I put my arm around her. "You saved him, Emma. You saved your brother." She looked up at me with tear-filled eyes. "I tried to tell you, Mom. I know. I should have listened. I am so sorry." We arrived at Valley Medical Center within 15 minutes. They rushed Jack into the emergency room. A nurse took my information while a doctor examined Jack. They hooked him up to an IV to get fluids into him quickly. They took his temperature, checked his reflexes, listened to his heart. I stood there holding Emma's hand, watching doctors swarm around my baby, and I felt like I was living in a nightmare. A doctor came over to me. He was middle-aged with gray at his temples and kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. "I am Dr. Reeves. Your baby is severely dehydrated and his body temperature was dangerously high when he arrived. We are getting fluids into him now and his temperature is coming down. Is he going to be okay?" "He should be. But I need you to understand how serious this is. Another hour, maybe even another 30 minutes, and we could be looking at organ damage, possibly brain damage. Your son is very lucky you got to him when you did." My legs almost gave out. Brain damage. My baby could have had brain damage. Because of Sharon. Because I trusted the wrong person. "How long was he alone?" the doctor asked. "I do not know. Maybe 35 minutes. Maybe longer." "And the room was overheated?" "Yes." The space heater was on full blast. Dr. Reeves shook his head. "That is child endangerment. We are required to report this to Child Protective Services." "I understand. Please do whatever you need to do." Just then, Thomas burst through the emergency room doors. His face was pale, his eyes wild. "Where is he? Where is Jack?" I ran to him and he wrapped his arms around me. "They are treating him. He is going to be okay." Thomas looked over my shoulder at Jack in the hospital bed, tubes and wires attached to his tiny body, and I felt him start to shake. "How could this happen?" he whispered. "Sharon left him. She just left. Where is she now? I do not know. Her car was gone when I got home." Thomas pulled out his phone and dialed Sharon's number. I watched his face as he waited. No answer. He tried again. Still no answer. He tried a third time, then gave up. "She is not answering."